It would be a mistake to vote before we've completely solved Angie's murder. And there's still the mystery of Tenko's murder.
Mystery? What kind of mystery?
Well, Kyo's confession derailed our conversation a bit. But we still have to go over one of the clues found at Tenko's crime scene.
True.
I believe
That's what I was talking about.
To do with Angie's murder.
Well, I know it. Let me see it. Let me see it. Let me see it. Oh, let me go down. Let me go down even. Ooh. Checkmate, atheist.
The blood stain found under the floor. Maki and I found it during the investigation. It was beneath the floorboard that the culprit stomped on.
Is that Tenko's blood?
That bloodstain was too far from Tenko's corpse to have been hers.
Also, the bloodstain was already dry when we found it. But the blood from Tenko's body hadn't even begun to dry yet.
Yep.
Well, that's weird. Why was that bloodstain the only dry one?
It happened before.
The bloodstain wasn't from Tenko's murder. It was there before we started the seance.
Yep.
Before the seance?
Hell yeah. Sanji's. Durr.
That's it!
How do you not say that?
That bloodstain wasn't Tenko's. It was Angie's.
Why was blood from Angie at the scene of Tenko's murder?
Very interesting,
Wasn't
too.
Angie killed in her research lab?
Nope.
Just because we found her body there doesn't mean she was killed there.
True.
Ah, I guess that's possible.
If Angie wasn't killed in her lab, then that opens up a lot more possibilities.
But she could have also been killed in her lab. Because I got an idea.
We assumed that only council members could have killed Angie since her body was in her lab. But if she died somewhere else, then we can't suspect just the council members anymore.
I know an idea,
So
man.
The culprit didn't enter her lab, but waited for her to come out of it?
You didn't have to enter her
I'm
lab.
not sure
I
if
know
the
it.
culprit waited for her, but they probably killed her when she came out. Well, I thought that was more likely from the start. So I went to places Angie might have gone and checked all 3 empty rooms.
Places she might have gone? Why did you check the empty rooms then?
The empty rooms were the only places I could think of that Angie would go.
I know why, too.
Did Angie have business in rooms?
Yeah, she did, actually.
It seems Kokichi's up to his usual misleading nonsense again.
Actually, this was true.
I do lie a lot, and I could be lying right now too. But I'm pretty sure someone's panicking right now because of my lie.
Ooh. I figured something out. He is kinda true. It's gonna be interesting, too. Let's fucking go.
The art research lab is not where Angie was killed. She was killed in the empty room instead.
She left her lab on her own?
But why
Yep.
would she go into an empty room? There shouldn't have been anything in there.
Actually, you don't know that.
That's it! She wanted a candle! To keep herself awake at night. She would drip hot wax on her body. That sounds
Not
like something
exactly.
you do.
I can't fucking break that? That sucks. It's not that,
The art
though.
research
I know what it is, I just missed it. I'm dumb. Not that. It's the second one. Or is it the second one? It's technically the second one to me.
Wanted a
I agree.
Actually, you're right! She did! Not for your reason, but for another reason.
That's it. Angie went to that room to get a candle.
Yeah, for kinky wax play.
Not exactly.
No, Angie was going to use it for the ritual.
Yep.
According to the Necronomicon, to resurrect the dead,
Then, did she seek out a candle so she could burn the book?
That's right.
Uh-huh.
There's nothing to start a fire with in Angie's lab,
True.
so she went to go get a candle from one of the empty rooms.
And that's when the culprit attacked her.
That's why there was dried blood under floor.
Which means Angie was attacked in the same room the seance was held.
Yep.
Bravo, Himiko. Well done for choosing that room for the seance. If we hadn't done the seance in that room, then Tenko's murder would have been in another room.
True.
If that happened, no one would have discovered Angie's bloodstain under the floorboards.
This bad coincidence.
That's right. Shuichi and I only checked under the floorboards where Tenko died.
Yep, it's all thanks to Himiko for choosing the same room as Angie. This must be a Tua's will. Or maybe the power of magic.
Or both.
It's neither. I just picked one.
Damn.
Hold on. You're all acting as though you've proven that as fact already. You claim Angie was murdered in the empty room, and then moved to the lab?
Actually, yeah.
Then how do you explain the large amount of blood in the lab?
Fair.
It may be possible to carry a body, but blood cannot be moved.
Actually, technically, it
I
could,
think she was still
but I have a
alive
different...
after the attack in the empty room. She was killed after she was carried to her lab.
Yep. It was actually, the forehead injury. Because there was an injury on her forehead, on her actual, like, head.
This is
So it makes sense. They were trying to knock her out.
The fatal wound was a cut to the back of her neck from the katana. But she also showed signs of blunt force trauma, and I think I know why. After Angie was knocked unconscious in the empty room, she was killed in her lab.
I see. So that puddle of blood is from the killing blow.
Yeah.
Ha! It's all clear now. Angie was attacked in the empty room, carried to her lab, and it was there that the culprit finished her off.
Ooh.
All clear. This is all clear. What are you all talking about?
Ooh, he's got a
All
little
clear.
doozy.
What is all clear? What are you? All clear? What are you all? You what? What are? I will not fear. I will not back down.
Okay.
Sweet Korekio, calm yourself. Their
Y'all
words
creepy.
are all hollow. There is no meaning to any of them.
What the
You must
fuck?
teach these ignorant children a lesson.
Yes, you're right. Okay, I'll teach them.
Is that why we wear so much eyeliner?
What the hell are you mumbling about? You're giving me the goddamn willies!
Man.
Not yet. Nothing is clear at all.
Actually, it's clear to me. What are you talking
Full
about?
of doubts, of mysteries, of a dense, impenetrable fog.
Please yell
Nothing
more.
is clear at all.
Thank you. I'm gonna fight you now. Give me all you got! Third axe of charm.
Angie
I know
was
what to
attacked
do.
in the empty room first, and then carried into the research lab? Impossible! Impossible! That's nothing but a delusion! You intend to poison our minds with your delusions?
It's no delusion. Angie's 2 external wounds tell the story.
Yep.
After she was struck in the empty room, she was carried to the art research lab and then killed.
You say the culprit carried Angie's body? And not a single drop of blood fell? The hallway and empty room had no bloodstains.
Oh, I got cut.
I was wrong.
You
I was
say
right,
the
actually,
culprit
but-
carried Angie's body? And not a single drop of blood fell? The hallway and empty room had no bloodstains.
What? That's right. Yeah, that's right. Oh. But it is the duct tape.
You say the culprit carried Angie's body? And not
Might
a
be wrong
single
timing.
drop of blood fell? The hallway and empty room had no bloodstains. Even if you wiped them down later, there'd still be traces of evidence left behind. But there was no evidence anywhere, was there, Shuichi?
Oh, damn it. Missed the timing. I have it. It's literally right there at the
culprit
end.
carried Angie's
They
body,
fucked me in the
and
first
not
part.
a single drop of blood fell. The hallway and empty room had no bloodstains. Even if you wiped them down later, there'd still be traces of evidence left behind. But there was no evidence anywhere, was there, Shuichi?
Actually, yeah, there was, bitch! Check it! I was doing it at the wrong time.
There was evidence left at the scene. The bloody tape under Angie's body.
What?
It was wrapped around her head to stop the bleeding while she was being carried.
Bloody tape? Gonta didn't notice at all.
It was under the body. It's most likely evidence the culprit should have gotten rid of. But since it was hidden, the culprit didn't notice and failed to dispose of it.
Rip.
It must have fallen as the fatal blow was dealt, and ended up under her body.
It must have been Atua who did that for us.
What? Atua? How long are you going to keep that up?
Good question.
Now we know most of the mystery behind Angie's murder.
You better go full on psycho real fast. I don't know if you do
I'm
that.
convinced there's only one person who could have killed Angie.
Sorry, fam. You thought you could get away with this? Boy! You ain't get away from me, motherfucker.
It has to be you. It's you, Kyo. You killed Angie.
What the fuck? So it's true.
I figured.
That was obvious. Such a boring, obvious answer.
You killed both of them. Why did you kill them?
In terms of pure logic, only one victim was necessary to win.
Why? Why you killed them both?
I think one of the murders was an accident.
An accident?
That's right. It wasn't part of the plan.
Huh? Which one?
Angie.
That's it. Angie's murder was an accident.
What? Tenko wasn't accident?
No, that was too deliberately planned. Angie's was a lot more sudden.
That's right. Kyo originally planned to kill someone with a seesaw trick. But while he was making preparations in the empty room, Angie walked in. So he decided to kill her in order to keep her from talking.
She just happened to walk in on the culprit setting up and was killed.
Then he should have just stopped there. Once he killed Angie, there was no reason for him to kill Tenko.
You only needed to kill one for this game. Killing two is pointless. If you get bonus points for killing more, then sure. Otherwise, it leaves more clues behind.
True.
Why, Kyo? Why you kill two of our friends?
What on earth are you talking about? No, I'm not the culprit. So, why is everyone looking at me like I am?
Means you are.
Why? Why are they? Why is it Calm yourself, Korekio. Yes. You mustn't raise your voice. You mustn't stutter. You mustn't lose composure. You mustn't become flustered. You mustn't waver. Look at their horrid faces. This sorry lot is not worth agonizing over. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
There he goes again. What the hell's wrong with him?
That's rude.
It almost seems like he's talking with someone.
Someone? He's just talking to himself. And why the hell is he wearing lipstick?
That's rude.
No matter how loudly you protest, this is a trivial matter. I will never acknowledge your allegations. Not a single one of them. So you
Bruh.
see, there is no evidence that I killed Angie. No, I will not acknowledge it. I will only acknowledge facts, true events. I won't acknowledge fiction, mystery. I won't acknowledge your deductions or guesses. Well said. Good job, Korekio. Yes, thanks.
How does it put? Does it just put like? You just keep on like. You could probably like unzip it. You know, that's kind of the point of the mask. He's like, nope, 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 nope. He's like, dude, chill out.
Creeps me the fuck out!
You're wrong.
Actually, there's actually a funny one.
What?
Oh,
You do realize
Didn't mean to do
bluffs
that.
like that won't work, yes?
The weapon that was used to knock Angie unconscious in the empty room.
this is a funny one.
That weapon tells us the whole story, Kyo.
That's not possible. I think you may have misunderstood. Apologize. Come on, apologize. 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 Come on. Apologize. 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 Apologize.
Seriously, what the hell's happening?
Can someone slap him?
I have
go.
nothing to admit. You are simply wrong. Yes.
It fixed up. It's working now.
So I have nothing to confess.
Fucked.
I have nothing to admit.
Oh, fucked that up.
You are simply wrong. Yes.
What?
I'm not the culprit. So I have nothing to confess.
I fucked that up. How?
Why must you
Come on,
force your
baby.
delusions on us? Your logic. That's merely a delusion. Well said, Korekio.
Fuck.
To continue this debate is meaningless. Why must you force your delusions on us? Your logic. That's merely a delusion. Well said, Korekio. To continue this debate is meaningless.
Come on.
I told you I am not the culprit. So why are you looking at me like that? You're all wrong, not me. Korekio speaks the truth. Such a sorry lot. Apologize. 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 Apologize.
Oh, that was weird.
Apologize. I told you I am not the culprit. So why are you looking at me like that? You're all wrong, not me. Korekio speaks the truth. Such a sorry lot. Apologize. 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 I told you I am
Fuck, you
not
fucked
the
it up.
culprit. So why are you looking at me like that? You're all wrong, not me. Korekio speaks the truth. Such a sorry lot. Apologize. 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 I told you I am not the culprit.
Got him.
You have no proof that Korekio is the killer.
It ends here.
Move floorboard. It works finally! For once. Twice?
Kyo hit Angie with the
Worse.
same floorboard used in the seesaw trick.
I see. And how do you know the floorboard was the murder weapon?
Have you seen yourself, man?
There was a small patch of dried blood on the underside of the floorboard.
Yeah, she got fucked.
Angie's blood?
Blood that spattered there when the culprit struck Angie with the board. But that's not the only evidence that she was hit with that floorboard. There's also the bloodstain under the floor to consider. For that to be there, the floorboard must not have been in place at the time of the attack.
Good point. Had the floorboard been in place, her blood wouldn't have splattered beneath it.
Yeah.
Keo's earlier confession is further evidence that the floorboard was used.
How?
If the weapon used to hit Angie is the floorboard from the seesaw trick,
It means the culprit knew about the seesaw, so the same person killed Tenko and Angie.
Damn. Dude, his screaming voice is awesome, not even kidding.
I believe that while Keo was setting up the seesaw, he was holding the board when Angie walked in.
And he cold-cocked her with the floorboard.
all you can do now is accept it. You even confessed to Tenko's murder already.
Oh, it's true. This is the truth.
Fam, you
Looks
fucked
like we're
up.
almost at the end.
Hey,
All right,
finally.
Shinichi, I'll leave the finale to you. Bring down the house.
Hell yeah!
Please, put an end to this.
I'm about to put an end to all of this.
And Tenko's sake. End this class trial.
I understand. I'll go over everything one more time. Keo, I want you to confess. No, I will force you to confess.
Damn! What a legend right there. Alright, this is always the fucking tedious part. Alright, so we gotta go around a bit. That's safe to say. Whacked her right in the head. Alright. Nope. There we go. I'm about to finish it right here, guys. That was pretty easy. See, I understood this one a lot more.
This is the truth of the case. Let's look back at the first murder. It was late last night. The culprit was in the empty room on the 4th floor. The culprit was preparing the seance murder they had planned. To use the floorboard as a seesaw, they had to cut the crosspiece supporting it. The plan was to make the same preparations for all 3 empty rooms. This would divert suspicion away from the culprit and whoever picked a room. To cut the crosspieces, they needed a saw. I imagine they got one from the warehouse. They were planning to cut the crosspieces in all 3 rooms. However, when the culprit was working on the middle room, the unexpected happened. Angie walked into that room and saw the culprit making their preparations. She needed some fire for the ritual and had gone to the room for a candle. At that point, the culprit had not finished the setup and was just cutting crosspieces. Angie might not have concluded that it was tied to some kind of murder plan. But now that Angie had seen it, the culprit couldn't use the seesaw trick. Any other person might have just given up, but not our culprit. The culprit took the floorboard they loosened and struck the unsuspecting Angie in the head. The culprit did not want to give up on their plan and had to improvise. They wrapped duct tape around Angie's injury to stop the bleeding. Then they picked up her unconscious body and carried her to a research lab. While she was unconscious, the culprit hurried to tie up this loose end. But because they were in a hurry, they made a crucial oversight. They didn't notice the duct tape had peeled off and was under Angie's body. Without that evidence, we may never have figured out the culprit's trick. Carrying the supplies they needed, the culprit returned to the ultimate art lab. Locked the front door from inside. And took out the katana they brought from their own lab. They then stabbed Angie in the back of the neck, finally killing her. Then, to further confuse us, the culprit attempted to make a locked room mystery. First, they used rope from the warehouse and hung 4 effigies upside down. There were 2 reasons for this: to overwhelm the room with an occult atmosphere, and the other was the key to locking the room. The culprit stuck the katana into Kaede's effigy near the rear entrance. And spun the effigy around to twist up the rope. After enough turns, the culprit let go and headed for the rear door. Once released, the effigy began spinning, and the gold leaf katana with it. The handle of the katana then hit the sliding lock, locking the door. A difficult trick, but remember that the lock was so loose it moved at the slightest touch. The culprit also would have had the opportunity to attempt it many times. Once complete, the door was locked, but the duct tape was left behind. Perhaps the culprit noticed it, but by that point, it was too late. The room was sealed. There was no way for them to get back inside. Then, this morning, we opened up the room and discovered Angie's body. But the culprit wasn't finished. They wanted one more murder. To do that, they manipulated us into performing this seance. Of the 3 empty rooms, the middle one was chosen for the seance. I was invited by Kokichi to take Kibo's place in the seance. Tenko volunteered to be the medium, but she never imagined it would get her killed. To perform the seance, the culprit claimed they needed something for Tenko. A small stone that Himiko had brought from the courtyard. Tenko, at the culprit's request, bowed her head until it was touching the stone. That position was instrumental in making sure the murder went as planned. Next, Kokichi and I placed the iron cage over Tenko, in the middle of the magic circle. The culprit then volunteered to drape the white cloth over the iron cage. We didn't realize it at the time, but that was a deliberate decision by the culprit. They needed to set up the murder weapon that was used to kill Tenko. While they were covering the cage with a cloth, they secretly placed the sickle. Finally, 4 of us placed the wooden statue on top of the cage. The culprit used the weight of the statue to keep the murder weapon in place. After the preparations were complete, we began the seance. In complete darkness, we each stood in one corner and sang the Cage Child song. When the song finished, the soul of the dead was supposed to enter the medium. But our culprit had another plan, to commit a murder in the darkness. Right after we started singing, the culprit began making their way toward Tenko. It would have been quite difficult to do in total darkness, but our culprit had a guide. They used the lines of the magic circle drawn with salt. The culprit felt for the salt and used it to guide them along. And when the culprit reached the center of the circle, they found the floorboard that had its crosspiece cut off the night before. Then lifted up their foot and stomped down hard on the floorboard. The floorboard lifted up like a seesaw and pushed Tenko's body up toward the ceiling of the cage. Tenko was stabbed in the back of the neck by the sickle on the top of the cage. She was killed right before our eyes, and we didn't even see it. After committing the crime, the culprit followed the salt back to their corner. Finished the ritual, and had us light the candles. We followed the culprit's directions and removed the equipment used for the seance. And discovered Tenko's body. And while we were all focused on the body, the culprit picked up the sickle and dropped it under the floor through the hole in the corner of the room. Ironically, the final step of the murder was unwittingly carried out by us. The culprit had planned the murder so that we would unintentionally destroy some evidence. That evidence was the magic circle that the culprit used to navigate in the dark. However, the culprit didn't know that Kibo had taken a picture. He really saved us. Without that, we wouldn't know what changes were made to the circle. But now we know for certain, and we know the culprit drew the magic circle. Korekio Shinguchi, the ultimate anthropologist. You're the culprit behind these murders.